Today we're out on Sturgeon Bay and Little Sturgeon Bay to a certain extent to assess the local walleye population here. Primarily in the Sturgeon Bay area, we're concerned about what the health of the population is, what kind of recruitment we're having, how our stock fishery is going, things like that, with growth rates, population indices, general information we can collect. So we've set these fyke nets out here at certain locations, and these are positioned in strategic places to essentially trap walleyes that are coming in to either in a pre-spawn or spawning phase in the spring after the ice had moved out, especially in Sturgeon Bay here, and kind of got a late start, but we're here in late April, pretty much assessing what's going on with the walleyes in the area. We'll come up to a net here, lift it up. This is a typical fyke net that we use for warm water species such as smallmouth bass, walleyes. The lead is extended off of shore. There's a series of hoops that the walleyes will funnel down into and get trapped in here. And we'll simply come up upon the net and lift it up and dip the walleyes out of here. The walleye fishery in Sturgeon Bay has been very good, very much like the Green Bay proper has been, and we've had some really good year classes, especially back around the early to mid 2000s. Had very strong year classes. The fact that we stock this area has a lot to do with that, and we had good survival during years when there was good wild production in Green Bay. So we're pretty much out here to see what the stock fishery was like, but also to look at the natural recruitment, and that's really the focus of this, is to see what kind of natural recruitment we're having in the Sturgeon Bay area, because as many folks know, Green Bay itself has been teeming with walleyes. We've had a number of excellent year classes of walleyes in Green Bay, but the Sturgeon Bay area is a little bit different. There's more cold water intrusion, different conditions here, so we have more episodic walleye recruitment here, and we don't get the consistent production. But we're here to find out, if we had some good reproduction, how good survival was, and to see when those wild year classes are, because that's really what we're looking for here. So you'll see today we're administering floy tags to a number of these fish, and it's simply a tag that goes into the dorsal or near the dorsal fin of the fish. And we've seen this in past studies. This gives us a lot of life history information on these fish. The walleye program in particular right now is we're trying to look at it bay-wide and look at different populations of walleyes in Green Bay and tagging them with these unique coded tags to see what kind of movement goes on with the fish, what kind of growth rates we get, see if we can get any type of specific population information for these walleyes, because we've got walleyes reproducing pretty well in different parts of Green Bay and Wisconsin waters, namely the Fox River, the Peshtigo River, the Oconto River, the Menominee River, as well as some of the offshore sites in southern Green Bay and on the west shore. So what we're doing here with these floy tags is part of the walleyes in Green Bay wide are managed out of the Green Bay office, but we're kind of cooperating with the work they're doing there and tagging some of the fish here. So we're tagging them as a component of this overall study to look at some population-specific information for these fish to kind of scratch the surface, because we don't look at them bay-wide too often, and also to potentially collect some preliminary information to be looking at some genetics differentiation between the populations in Wisconsin waters. So once these fish are tagged, they'll hang around this area, of course, for a little while and go through the spawning period. But then they'll move offshore. They'll go throughout the bay and mix and distribute. And this is really good information for us to see where these fish end up, where they go, what kind of migration habits they may have, and get that information back from the anglers and say, hey, I caught this fish over on the west shore at this time of the year, and it was a certain size. Things like that really give us good information on life history of these walleye populations. Okay. So for the angler, if we do catch one of these fish, that's great. We really appreciate you getting back to us with the information from that fish and from that tag. And what you want to do is take a look at the tag. By all means, if you're not going to keep the fish, leave the tag in the fish when you release it. We don't want the tag being pulled out because we use that information if we're looking at some population abundance indices. So we would like you to leave the tag in the fish, but record what's on the tag. The best idea is to either contact the Green Bay or the Sturgeon Bay fisheries offices, or just go online on the Wisconsin DNR website and the fisheries site, and it actually has information there on how to report information from a tagged fish. Historically, the Sturgeon Bay area has had some substantial recruitment of wild fish. Within the last 10 years to 20 years or so, we've not seen it as consistent as we used to. And even back then, it wasn't all that consistent. There are various theories. We certainly don't know exactly why this happened. We lost a fair bit of what was considered some of their key spawning areas. And some of the theories as to why we don't know it is primarily due to the cold water intrusions here. We get a lot of cold water seiches moving back and forth between Lake Michigan and Green Bay because of the Sturgeon Bay shipping canal. The currents go back and forth and they bring a lot of cold water into them. Now, that's not to say it shuts things down altogether, because walleye eggs can withstand a certain level of temperature fluctuations. But once those larvae hatch out, they also have to be matched up well with certain levels of plankton in the air and the food source. And with the colder water up here, that can really shut things down considerably, and the whole life cycle system that the walleyes will depend upon for food may not happen at the right time for them to survive. So as part of our walleye assessment here, we're really trying to look at what kind of spawning habitat they prefer in this area, what kind of conditions they're looking for to spawn. And so as part of this program, we've set out a number of temperature data loggers that we put in anywhere from 3 to 5 feet of water areas where we think walleyes are coming into and where they might have good water temperatures, suitable water temperatures for the overall incubation and hatching process for the eggs here. So we've distributed a number of these temperature data loggers throughout Sturgeon Bay and Little Sturgeon Bay, and we'll leave those out there for the next month or two to see how stable the water temperatures are, if they are hospitable to walleye egg hatching, and for the stability of conditions for the fry so they can find enough food. So we put these in areas that we think fish may be coming into, and areas that we can look forward to enhancing potentially for natural reproduction in the future. So this year what we've been seeing is a really good distribution. We're seeing a better distribution of sizes of fish and age classes of fish, but we're still seeing a pretty large contribution from the 2003 year class, which was a good wild fish year class, but also for us it was a stocked year and we had really good survival from that year. So we're seeing some very large fish, in the mid to upper 20-inch range, a pretty substantial number of those fish. So 2003 for us was a good year class, and we've been measuring those fish all along, and even 10 years later we're seeing a substantial number of those. But we're also seeing here today, we're seeing more fish that it might be in the 14 to 16-inch range, which means, again, in recent years, 3 to 4 years ago, we had either good survival from stocking or some wild reproduction, but at this stage we simply don't know where those fish are, whether they were stocked or wild fish. But we're seeing, in general, good survival of our stocked fish. The 2013 survey here in Sturgeon Bay, we were able to capture about approximately 1,800 to 1,900 fish here. We're still entering all the data and working up all the information here. But we did actually capture a large number of fish here. Things look very good as far as numbers-wise here. We think we've had some really good stocked years. We've been stocking for some time, so some good year classes. It looks like the 2003 year class as 10-year-olds are still very strong here. So we've got, numbers-wise, a good number of fish here, and the future looks very good. We're hoping that we can get a better handle on the amount of natural reproduction in this area so that we can cut back a little bit on stocking. A lot of that has to do with the fact that there are a lot of walleyes in Green Bay proper, and we're trying to kind of cut ties to a certain extent with stocking here in the Sturgeon Bay area and enhance what we've got here, and to contribute to the overall bay-wide population. But as of right now, size-wise, abundance-wise, the limited amount of natural recruitment we've got, things are looking optimistic in the Sturgeon Bay area for walleyes.